Welcome back to Where to Live TV. Today we're counting down the 10 most dangerous towns in Washington for 2025. If you're planning to move, retire, or work in this state, you'll want to see which towns made the list. Hello friends, it's always great having you here. At Where to Live TV, we bring you the facts you need to make smarter decisions about where to call home. Now let me ask you, do you live in one of the most dangerous towns in Washington? We've all seen the headlines. A shooting a few blocks away, a robbery in the next town over, and it's enough to make anyone uneasy. But here's the thing. Instead of relying on rumors or fear, we dug deep into the FBI's latest crime data to see which towns in Washington really stand out when it comes to crime rates. If you already live in one of these places, you probably know it's not the kind of town where you can relax with your guard completely down. Our goal here isn't to sensationalize, but to share the facts: violent crime, property crime, and overall crime rates, real issues that impact everyday residents. And here's something to remember. If you're moving, retiring, or even job hunting in Washington, don't just think about housing prices or opportunities. Safety should always be a key factor. The right choice can protect your peace of mind, your family's security, and your quality of life. So stick with us as we count down the 10 most dangerous towns in Washington for 2025. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss our upcoming breakdowns of America's safest, cheapest, and most livable towns. This is info that could save you time, money, and maybe even your safety. 10. Toppenish. With fewer than 9,000 residents, it's known for its farming roots, open landscapes, and murals celebrating Native American and pioneer history. On the surface, it feels like the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, the type of community where kids ride bikes freely and neighbors greet one another by name. But the numbers tell a much different story. Toppenish has a violent crime rate of about 613 incidents per 100,000 residents, well above the state average. And when you zoom out to look at the bigger picture, the overall crime rate, it spikes to a staggering 6,300 crimes per 100,000 residents. For such a small place, that's an outsized share of danger. So what's driving crime in a town this size? Locals will tell you it's a mix of economic strain and limited resources. The poverty rate here is higher than the state average, and with a smaller police force stretched thin, response times aren't always immediate. That means crimes like burglary, property theft, and assault don't just happen. They sometimes repeat themselves. And while Toppenish has strong community pride, those same residents admit that safety is an ongoing concern. It's not uncommon for families to double-lock doors, for businesses to install extra cameras, and for schools to heighten security measures. But here's what's striking. Despite the statistics, Toppenish continues to project resilience. Festivals, local gatherings, and cultural celebrations keep the community spirit alive. Residents often say crime doesn't define their town, even if the numbers threaten to. Still, if you're thinking about moving to Toppenish, whether for work in agriculture, a quieter pace of life, or family reasons, safety needs to be part of your decision-making. Ask the right questions. Which neighborhoods feel safer? What kind of security measures are in place? How does the town support residents when crime does strike? At the end of the day, Toppenish sits in a unique place, a small town with big city crime challenges. It's a reminder that crime isn't just an urban issue. It can hit hardest where you least expect it. So while Toppenish earns the number 10 spot on our list of Washington's most dangerous towns, it's also a case study in resilience, where community pride and safety struggles live side by side. 9. Federal Way. At first glance, Federal Way looks like the picture of a safe, family-friendly suburb. You'll see tree-lined streets, plenty of shopping malls, and schools tucked into neighborhoods that, on the surface, seem calm and orderly. Many people who move here expect that suburban lifestyle: quiet evenings, kids riding bikes, and neighbors who look out for each other. But once you dig into the numbers, the story takes a different turn. According to the FBI's latest data, Federal Way reports a violent crime rate of 643 incidents per 100,000 residents, along with more than 6,000 total crimes per 100,000 people. For a place that looks so put together on the outside, That's a serious reality check. Now, what makes Federal Way stand out isn't necessarily headline-grabbing crimes that shock the nation. It's the steady drumbeat of day-to-day offenses: burglaries, car break-ins, thefts, and assaults. It's those smaller but constant crimes that wear people down, leaving many residents with a sense that they always need to be on guard. Parents often talk about double-checking the locks, keeping a closer eye on their kids, and thinking twice about leaving valuables in the car. Locals will tell you that the city has been struggling with growth. Over the last few decades, Federal Way has expanded quickly, adding more housing, more businesses, and more people than the infrastructure or law enforcement could comfortably keep up with. That gap between growth and safety resources often creates the perfect storm where crime can slip through the cracks. To be fair, it's not all doom and gloom. Federal Way has a lot going for it. Its location between Seattle and Tacoma makes it attractive for commuters. It has some beautiful parks like Dash Point State Park, and it still offers many suburban conveniences that draw families. Community groups are also active here, working hard to keep neighborhoods connected and to push back against crime trends. But the reality is this: living in Federal Way means you need to stay alert. The numbers prove that just because an area looks suburban doesn't mean it's automatically safe. For many families, this city has become a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that safety should always be factored in before choosing where to live. So while Federal Way might not top the list for violent headlines, the sheer volume of everyday crimes makes it a place where residents can't quite relax. Suburban doesn't always mean secure, and Federal Way is one of the clearest examples of that here in Washington. 8. Vancouver. Just across the Columbia River from Portland sits Vancouver, Washington, a city that many people think of as Portland's calmer, more affordable neighbor. On the surface, it has that appeal: tree-covered neighborhoods, access to the riverfront, and a community that often markets itself as a quieter alternative to the hustle and bustle of Oregon's biggest city. For families moving out of Portland, Vancouver looks like the promised land of suburban peace with a slightly cheaper cost of living. But when you peel back the surface, the numbers tell another story. According to the FBI's latest data, Vancouver reports a violent crime rate of about 650 per 100,000 residents, along with more than 5,100 total crimes per 100,000 people. That puts it well above the national average and paints a much riskier picture than many newcomers expect. Why does this matter? Well, Vancouver is what we'd call a border city. Being right on the state line comes with unique pressures: drug trafficking routes, transient populations, and crime spillover from a much larger metro area. Portland's own struggles with homelessness, addiction, and property crime don't stop at the bridge. Many of those issues drift across into Vancouver, and when you combine that with Vancouver's own rapid growth, you get a city struggling to keep pace with the demands of public safety. Residents often say that living in Vancouver is a tale of two cities. On one hand, there are thriving neighborhoods, community parks, and the revitalized waterfront that attracts families and visitors alike. On the other hand, certain areas can feel unsafe the moment the sun goes down. Break-ins, car thefts, and assaults happen frequently enough that many locals have adjusted their daily routines, from avoiding certain streets at night to installing extra home security. It's also worth noting that Vancouver, much like other fast-growing cities, is dealing with economic inequality. Some neighborhoods are flourishing with new businesses and development, while others struggle with poverty and lack of resources. That gap often creates conditions where crime can thrive. And it explains why two residents living just a few miles apart can have completely different experiences of safety. So while Vancouver may market itself as Portland's calmer cousin, the data tells us it's facing challenges of its own. For anyone considering a move here, whether to work, retire, or raise a family, the key is research. Know the neighborhoods, look at local crime maps, and don't assume that proximity to Portland means safety. In Vancouver, choosing the right area can be the difference between feeling at home and feeling on edge. 7. Shelton. Shelton may not look like the kind of town you'd expect to find on a list of Washington's most dangerous places. With just over 10,000 residents, it has all the hallmarks of a quiet rural community. Small shops, modest neighborhoods, and the kind of town where people often know their neighbors by name. For newcomers, Shelton gives off that peaceful small-town America vibe. But the crime data reveals a different side of the story. Shelton reports a violent crime rate of 708 incidents per 100,000 residents, a number that lands it squarely among Washington's most dangerous towns. While the property crime rate isn't as high as some of the larger cities on this list, it's the violent offenses that make Shelton stand out. Assaults in particular are alarmingly high for a community this size, pushing it further up the rankings than many would ever expect. What makes Shelton striking is that it challenges the assumption many people have about rural safety. A lot of families move to small towns believing they'll leave big city problems behind. And yes, Shelton does have quiet streets, plenty of open space, and slower-paced living. But those same streets can also carry an undercurrent of unease. Residents sometimes put it plainly: quiet, but not always safe. Part of the issue is resources. In a town this small, law enforcement can only stretch so far. With limited officers and fewer community programs, serious crimes often make a bigger impact because there's less infrastructure to respond. And unlike larger cities that may have specialized units, rural police forces often juggle everything at once, which can leave gaps in safety coverage. It's also worth considering the economic backdrop. Shelton has historically been a working-class, resource-driven town with ties to the timber industry and other trades. But like many small towns, economic transitions haven't been easy. Pockets of poverty and lack of opportunity often feed into crime rates, especially violent ones. For a population as small as Shelton's, even a modest uptick in incidents can dramatically change the numbers. So when you zoom out and look at the FBI's data, the reality is hard to ignore. Shelton is proof that rural life doesn't automatically equal security. For people considering a move here, whether to retire in a slower-paced town or raise a family away from the city, the takeaway is clear. Don't assume small means safe. Do the research, talk to locals, and make sure the neighborhood you're eyeing is truly the kind of place where you can relax. In Shelton, the contrast is sharp, a small-town atmosphere on the surface, but crime rates that tell a much more complicated story. 6. Spokane. Spokane is Washington's second-largest city, home to more than 219,000 residents. It's a cultural hub for Eastern Washington, known for its universities, medical centers, and a downtown that has seen major revitalization in recent years. On the surface, Spokane offers everything you'd expect from a growing metro: thriving restaurants, renovated lofts, and a vibrant arts scene. But the numbers paint a less polished picture. Spokane reports a violent crime rate of about 713 per 100,000 people, with more than 6,100 total crimes per 100,000 residents. That makes it one of the highest crime cities in the state. What stands out most about Spokane is the sharp contrast between its neighborhoods. Downtown and the South Hill area showcase a revitalized, family-friendly environment, while other pockets of the city struggle with poverty, homelessness, and drug activity. Walk a few blocks in the wrong direction, and Spokane can feel like a completely different city. The opioid crisis has also hit Spokane hard. Law enforcement and local leaders often point to substance abuse and addiction as key drivers of crime, from thefts and burglaries to more violent offenses. For many residents, this means crime doesn't just feel like a statistic. It shows up in the form of break-ins, stolen cars, and unsettling encounters close to home. Still, Spokane isn't a city without hope. Its residents take pride in their community, and ongoing efforts to boost economic development, increase police presence, and invest in social programs are showing progress. Families and students continue to flock here for opportunities, drawn by the relatively affordable housing compared to Seattle or Portland. The reality, though, is clear. Spokane is a city of two faces. Depending on which neighborhood you're in, it can feel safe and up-and-coming, or unsafe and struggling. For anyone thinking about moving here, the key is doing your homework. Spokane offers opportunity, but it also demands caution. 5. Lakewood. Located just south of Tacoma, Lakewood is a mid-sized city that often surprises newcomers with its crime statistics. With a population of roughly 63,000 people, Lakewood posts a violent crime rate of about 757 per 100,000 residents, along with nearly 5,700 total crimes per 100,000 people. What makes Lakewood unique is the expectation many people had that its geography would offer protection. The city sits near Joint Base Lewis McChord, one of the largest military installations on the West Coast. Many assumed that proximity to thousands of service members and military families would discourage crime. But the numbers tell us otherwise. Lakewood struggles with consistently high robbery and theft rates, and the military presence hasn't been enough to change that picture. The issues here are layered. Like other mid-sized Washington cities, Lakewood is battling challenges tied to homelessness and drug use, but it's also shaped by its role as a commuter hub. Its location along the I-5 corridor puts it on a major transit route, which often brings crime with it, particularly theft and property-related offenses. Residents often describe a city of mixed experiences. Some neighborhoods are quiet, stable, and filled with long-term families. Others, however, deal with frequent car prowls, burglaries, and occasional violent incidents that leave people uneasy. The difference can be stark, depending on which part of Lakewood you're in. The city is also no stranger to high-profile crime stories. Over the years, Lakewood has made headlines for violent incidents that left a lasting impression on its reputation. These moments reinforce the sense that crime here isn't just about numbers. It has a real impact on community trust and safety. That said, Lakewood does have strengths. It offers access to lakes, parks, and outdoor recreation that many residents love. It's also more affordable than Seattle or Tacoma, making it attractive for families priced out of larger cities. And community leaders continue to invest in programs aimed at revitalization and safety. But the lesson from Lakewood is clear. Location alone doesn't guarantee safety. For people considering a move to Lakewood, it's essential to dig into neighborhood-level data, because safety can vary widely across the city. 4. Seattle, the crown jewel of Washington, is home to more than 740,000 residents, making it by far the largest city in the state. Known worldwide for its booming tech industry, iconic skyline, coffee culture, and waterfront views, Seattle often lands on lists of most livable cities. But beneath the growth, the story of crime here is impossible to ignore. According to FBI data, Seattle reports a violent crime rate of about 777 per 100,000 residents, and a total crime rate of roughly 5,789 per 100,000 people. Those numbers put it well above the national average, making it one of the most dangerous large cities in Washington. The challenges facing Seattle are complex. On one hand, the city's tech boom, with companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and countless startups, has drawn talent, investment, and prosperity. On the other hand, the skyrocketing cost of living, combined with rising homelessness, has fueled conditions that often lead to crime. Assaults, robberies, and especially car thefts have become a daily concern for residents. Seattle is also a city of stark contrasts. Walk through neighborhoods like Queen Anne or Capitol Hill, and you'll find trendy restaurants, bustling nightlife, and highly desirable housing. Yet just blocks away, open-air drug use, tents, and thefts paint a much different picture. It's this unevenness that makes Seattle feel unpredictable. Safe in some areas, unsettling in others. The rise in property crime has hit especially hard. Residents frequently report break-ins, catalytic converter thefts, and even organized retail theft that affects businesses large and small. For a city that thrives on commerce and tourism, those issues aren't just statistics. They impact everyday life and the local economy. Still, Seattle is resilient. The city continues to invest in public safety initiatives, homelessness services, and community programs designed to address the root causes of crime. Its residents remain proud of their city, often emphasizing its culture, innovation, and natural beauty. But at the same time, they're realistic. Crime is a real factor in deciding where to live, and it's something newcomers can't afford to overlook. The takeaway? Seattle proves that even booming, world-class cities aren't immune to crime. Growth can bring prosperity, but it also brings challenges that can't always be solved by money and technology. 3. Tukwila. Now let's shift to a city that's much smaller in size but far bigger in crime numbers. Tukwila. With a population of only about 20,000 people, You might expect this place to be quiet and manageable. Instead, Tukwila has one of the most jaw-dropping crime rates in the entire state. The violent crime rate here is around 840 per 100,000 residents, already among the highest in Washington. But the real shocker is the property crime. Tukwila reports more than 18,000 total crimes per 100,000 residents. That's not just high, it's astronomical compared to most cities in the country. So how does a small city end up with such staggering numbers? The answer lies in its geography and economy. Tukwila is a hub of activity. It's home to the massive Westfield South Center Mall, countless strip malls, restaurants and businesses, plus major highways that funnel traffic right through the city. That combination makes it a magnet for retail theft, car break-ins, and property-related crimes. Locals often describe the city as a place of extremes. There are hardworking families, stable neighborhoods, and a sense of community pride. But there's also the constant battle against retail theft, drug activity, and assaults in high-traffic areas. For many residents, the challenge is separating the everyday Tukwila they know from the staggering crime statistics that dominate its headlines. To its credit, the city isn't ignoring the problem. Tukwila has been investing in community policing, business partnerships, and security initiatives aimed at curbing retail theft. But given the city's role as a commercial and traffic hub, the fight against crime here is uphill. The lesson? Tukwila may look like just another small city on the map, but its numbers tell a very different story. High traffic, busy malls, and limited resources combine to make it one of Washington's most dangerous places per capita, a reminder that size doesn't always equal safety. 2. Tacoma. Tacoma, often overshadowed by its larger neighbor Seattle, has long carried a rough reputation, and unfortunately, the statistics still reinforce that image. With a violent crime rate of about 1,243 per 100,000 people, Tacoma's numbers are nearly 2.5 times higher than the Washington state average. When you consider the total crime rate, which hovers above 8,599 per 100,000 residents, it's clear why Tacoma lands so high on this list. But Tacoma isn't just numbers. It's a city of over 215,000 people, filled with hard-working families, artists, and entrepreneurs. It's also home to a deep history, a thriving port, and efforts at revitalization that have brought new restaurants, museums, and waterfront attractions. Yet, crime continues to overshadow these improvements. So, what's driving the problem? Property crimes like burglary and theft are rampant. Car prowls and stolen vehicles are daily realities, and assaults often make headlines. Poverty, drug activity, and the spillover effect from gang presence in surrounding areas also fuel Tacoma's struggles. Many residents describe the city as a mixed bag. Some neighborhoods feel safe and welcoming, while others can feel unsettling even during the day. For newcomers, this means one thing: choosing neighborhoods wisely. While areas like the North End or parts of University Place have a reputation for being quieter and family-friendly, neighborhoods closer to downtown or along the east side tend to see higher crime rates. Still, Tacoma has its bright spots: the Museum District, Point Defiance Park, and a growing arts community. For many, the city offers opportunities and culture that smaller towns lack. But safety concerns mean Tacoma remains a challenging place to call home in 2025, especially for families and retirees looking for peace of mind. Despite the risks, Tacoma's housing market still attracts newcomers priced out of Seattle, which creates a constant push and pull between opportunity and safety concerns. Locals often say the city has two faces, one of growth, art, and waterfront beauty, and another of crime that refuses to go away. For families, that duality makes daily life a careful balancing act, weighing the benefits of affordability and culture against the stress of safety risks. It's this tension that keeps Tacoma firmly planted near the top of Washington's most dangerous cities list. At the very top of our list is Fife, and its presence here might shock some. With a population of just 10,000 people, Fife is a small city by any standard. Yet the crime numbers are anything but small. The violent crime rate here is an alarming 1,534 per 100,000 residents, and the total crime rate skyrockets to more than 11,400 per 100,000, several times higher than the state average. So how does a city this small become so dangerous? The answer lies in a combination of factors. Fife's location as a crossroads, wedged between major highways and industrial zones, makes it a hotspot for transient crime. Theft, property damage, and vehicle-related crime are common, especially given its proximity to Tacoma and easy freeway access to larger cities. On top of that, gang activity and economic struggles amplify the risks. Many families in Fife face poverty, and limited policing resources mean law enforcement is often stretched thin. The result? Even though Fife is small enough that you could drive across it in minutes, the risks loom large. For residents, this creates a strange contradiction. On one hand, Fife offers a small-town feel, with local diners, community events, and neighborhoods where everybody knows each other. On the other hand, many locals admit they don't leave their cars unlocked or walk certain streets after dark. The crime is simply too unpredictable. It's worth noting that Fife is actively trying to turn things around. City leaders are working on community programs, and there are pockets of safe, quiet living. Still, the statistics don't lie. When crime rates are this high compared to the state average, caution is a must. What makes Fife stand out is how concentrated the danger feels. Crime isn't spread thin, but hits in small pockets, which magnifies the impact on such a tiny community. Its location along major highways makes it a hotspot for transient crime, from car theft to drug trafficking, feeding into already stretched law enforcement. Residents say it's a place where opportunity and risk collide daily, leaving people watchful even in their own neighborhoods. And that's why, despite its small size, Fife takes the #1 spot. For such a small place, the level of risk is unmatched, cementing Fife as Washington's most dangerous town in 2025. So there you have it, the 10 most dangerous towns in Washington for 2025. If you're considering moving to Washington, here's the bottom line. Do your homework before choosing a town or city. Safety matters just as much as affordability, job prospects, schools, and overall lifestyle. Knowing which towns in Washington have the highest crime rates can save you from making a decision you might regret. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Did your town make the list of the most dangerous places in Washington? Or do you think there's another city that deserves to be mentioned? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and your insight helps others who are also researching the best and worst places to live in Washington. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming deep dives. We'll be covering not only the safest cities in Washington, but also the most affordable towns in America, the best places to retire, and even the hidden gems for relocation in 2025. Whether you're looking for peace of mind, better opportunities, or a fresh start, we've got you covered. This is Where to Live TV, helping you discover the safest, cheapest, and most livable places across the U.S. so you and your family can truly feel at home.